The Ghana Journalists Association stands at a critical crossroad as it prepares to elect new national officers to lead the association for the next 4 years. With the June 30, 2025 polls fast approaching, the presidential race is heating up as the two front-runners crisscross the country, intensifying the final push. But what are the real issues confronting journalists nationwide? Is the membership calling for a reset or clinging to the status quo? This afternoon, I am joined on Zoom by one of the presidential aspirants, Charles Yaw Mawusi, as we unpack his vision and why he believes he's the right man for the job. But first, let's get to know Charles Yaw Mawusi first, and I'll be rolling a bit about him on your screen. And so our first candidate we're going to be learning about is Charles Yaw Mawusi, as I've been telling you, born 27th May 1976, which means that he celebrated his birthday not long ago. Obviously, a Ghanaian, country of permanent residence, Ghana here. It will give us a bit more about him, about his education as well. We'll just bring you that shortly on the screen. Now, for his education, GIJ, Diploma Communication Studies, the year 2001, and GamePower as well, where he pursued Bachelor of Public Administration. That's in 2009 at the University of Education in Winneba, MA Communications Media Studies 2018, and in 2022, MPhil Strategic Communications, still in the same university. And achievements, 20 years plus of development, journalism and social communications, Executive Director, Transmedia Network, 18 years developing comm strategies for CSOs and donor projects, has led financial literacy campaign for Government of Ghana's financial sector reforms project, and continues to highlight some of his achievements, currently leading comm strategy for the Ghana Economic Transformation Project, World Bank funded clearly, developed a national comm strategy for Ghana's anti-corruption plan, produced public education materials, flyer brochures, videos for major donor projects like USAID, continues to say that 8 years with the Danish NGO supporting advocacy and media systems, 4 years as technical advisor, Star Ghana, oversaw media work during 2012 elections, 4 years with the NIDA as well, 3 years reshaping the Busak Fund's communication, rebranding media strategy. Final leg, which I will just be telling you, trained and mentored dozens of Ghanaian journalists, which I'll be curious about to be asking him who are these journalists. Experts in right-based communication strategies and donor governance programs, strong media network advisor to GJA and other key press groups, strong media network advisor, we'll get into that, helped develop anti-corruption strategy for the Judicial Service of Ghana. And finally, maybe TV3 Star Ghana Mission Program concepts, some of the things, the key media activities that he's been engaged in, strengthening transparency, accountability, and responsiveness in Ghana, Star Ghana Project, and SNV Netherlands Development Organization Voice for Change Program. At IFC World Bank Warehouse Receipt System, trained over 300 journalists on advocacy reporting and content creation for public awareness. World Bank Greater Accra Metropolitan Assembly Project trained more than 60 journalists as well in that. And finally, if you do not recall anything about Mawusi, you should remember that Transmedia Network consultant and director. He also was at the Danish NGO IBIS West Africa, Media and Communications Officer between the year 2004 and 2008. IBIS West Africa, a Danish NGO, again, information assistant, worked with the communications and media officer as well. And a little later in our conversation, we'll have some journalists from across the country joining the conversation to ask their own questions. But thank you for joining us. Which one would you like to be called, Mawusi or Charles? Please unmute if you can hear me.
Charles is fine.
Charles is fine. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Please.
So let's start with the current assessment of the Ghana Journalists Association first as an entity. What's your current assessment of it?
Well, I think the association at the moment needs rescue. I think the association at the moment needs to be revived. I think the association at the moment needs capacity building to strengthen the skills at the secretariat. I think the association at the moment needs to strengthen its branches and chapters across the country. I think the association at the moment needs a welfare policy. I think the association at the moment needs innovation and new ideas that would help strengthen the welfare system in terms of investment. I think the association needs ideas as to rehabilitate the secretariat that was handed over to us many years ago. And these are many other things that I think the association at the moment is begging for.
Right.
And again, before I forget, MFR, the association also needs to revive interest of journalists in the association.
Okay. I mean, before we get into rescue, because I'm quite interested in what you're rescuing it from, what's your assessment of the current president?
Well, I think the current president has done what he could do. We all have our capacities and our experience. We all have our path of career in the profession. Journalism and media is a broad area. He has done his part, and I think that based on his capacity, his experience, his character, this is how far he could bring the association. Therefore, he has done his part. It will be good for somebody else with deeper understanding of capacity building, issues of welfare, administrative and managerial skills that will strengthen the workings of GJA, both at the secretariat and also across the regions.
All right, Charles. So would you say that the current president has chalked any success at all?
Well, he has done some things, but it's for me, it's kind of like a mixed bag. For example, the African Journalist Convention, that was a very successful assignment he conducted. And of course, that is a visible thing that he has done. But that assignment is also kind of like shrouded with issues of accountability. And it borders on issues of transparency and accountability. Again, I also think that being not able to organize a successful AGM is not good enough. So I think he has done some things, and I think there's more to be done.
Let's talk more about the transparency accountability before we ask the overall question. Maybe I should dare ask, has he failed at all? Has he failed?
Well, that is a tricky one. I wouldn't say he has failed, but speaking to journalists across, interacting with colleague journalists, I realized that there's a cry for transparency, credibility, and accountability.
What do you say transparency and accountability? Explain.
The way the association is run, issues of finance, issues of accountability, and even recently there was a report that we could not file audited accounts at the Registrar General. There are issues of tax that we have to deal with GRA with. And these are all things that I think borders on good governance, accountability, and transparency.
Right. Would you cite at least an example? Because then that is a bit broad. That's quite overall. Transparency, accountability. If you can just lead me or pin me to one particular thing that you can think that, well, no, in your view, not per the report, in your view, you'd say that he hasn't been transparent.
Well, I think being not able to organize AGM is one of the things that I think he hasn't done well.
Okay. Okay. Do you recall the purpose of the GJA and when it was set up? The purpose.
Well, the purpose for GJA is to take care of journalists, protect the interests of journalists, and expand the frontiers of press freedom. and freedom of speech to encourage that journalists work freely in a non-intimidated manner. So it has to do basically about welfare of our association.
Would you say that from the time that it was created, it has achieved that object?
Yes, actually, from the time GJ has been created, we saw significant progress in the days where we had leadership that could roar to protect the journalists. We saw leaders of GJ who actively worked hard to bring the association to some level. But what we have seen over the years, when I was a young journalist those days, I don't think I'm seeing that now. And there is a need for us to restore those olden days glory and then improve upon it.
Okay. I've read your profile extensively, but let's talk about you and the GJ itself. When did you join the association?
I joined GJ in the year 2010. But you know, from GIJ, when you finish school after 1 year, you start paying dues as a member. So I started from the year 2004 as a member, but somewhere along the line, the membership, my regularity with membership was not active. But in 2010, I revived my membership and I started working actively with GJ from the year 2010.
Okay. You want to share with me some of the activities that you have been working with them, as you have said, actively?
Yes. I'll give you a few examples, MFR, because I've done a lot of work with GJ behind the scenes. You know, if you remember in 2012, there was some media activity in the 2012 elections. I was then the technical advisor for media and communication for Star Ghana. That was my creation at Star Ghana. We identified the media as a civil society organization, which should also apply for funding for activities during the 2012 elections. But at the end of the deadline, there was no application from any media house. So I have to suggest to my team that we need to invite the media one-on-one, including the GJ and other 11 media organizations, including multimedia. We engaged with staffs from these institutions. I helped develop the concept notes that enable them to receive funding to do the activities. I was the one who worked with all the staff of these institutions behind the scene to implement the various projects that led to peace and stability during the 2012 election. You know, towards the 2012 election, you may recall that that was where we have issues like all die be die if we don't win Afghanistan. This actually triggered the fear for Star Ghana to embark on peace promotion mission, which I was strongly involved developing the concept note for all these organizations, working closely with all of them, including GJA. Now, beyond that, I was involved with Busak Fund as the technical advisor for media and communication. And my role there, I recommended that the project work with the media wing or the media stream of the advocacy. We work with GJA. And Busak Fund 1 and 2, I was involved in the design and implementation of that assignment.
Okay.
So beyond that, however, can I go on or you want to ask a question?
Maybe proceed and land, and why I almost interjected, which I'm actually doing now, will be that
okay, let me quickly
maybe wrap on that.
Okay. In 2016, what we did for all the media organizations, GJ wanted to do a similar thing in 2016 elections. I left Star Ghana because then we ended the phase 1. So the phase 2, I was not part of the phase 2 team. Leadership of GJ approached me. I developed the concept note and the proposal for that assignment, which could have earned GJ $55,000 to do different activities around 2016 election. The proposal was passed, but GJA could not pass through the due diligence stage. The due diligence stage denied us that access. And the due diligence stage involved looking into your books, your financial management, your audited accounts, how checks are issued, payment processes. When that was conducted, we could not pass. So I advise GJA strongly that let us build capacity of the staff. Let us strengthen systems within the organization that will enable us to pass this kind of test in the future.
Okay, Charles. So it appears to me that most of your activities which you're highlighting are quite third party, which maybe you may have to let me understand. It looks like it's not directly with the GJA. It will be through another medium. I'd be happy if you're able to...
No, not exactly. MFR.
Okay. If you make it not easier, exactly. I would want to just, by the end of this interview, just pick up directly GJA's activities, which one of them you've been actively involved in since you joined 2010. And it's okay to limit the joining at 2010 because you were quite not active prior to that, right?
Well, if you say I was not quite active before 2010, fine.
No. From your own words, you said from 2004, you were quite irregular. Are we on the same page on that?
Yeah, right.
Okay. So is it okay if we limit it to 2010, or you want us to expand the conversation to when you were irregular?
Exactly.
Okay.
So from 2010, I was involved in all the key projects that BUSAC Fund had ever implemented. And I have mentioned these two key projects because the concept note development, the implementation of these activities, work plan, budget management, how do they carry out the activities, the reporting to the donor and all that. I was involved. I did these jobs for GJA without any fee from GJA. I did it as a member of the association.
Okay. That is very straight to the point and a bit more clear. Would you say that from 2010 to now, and this way just trying to understand your role very proper, especially because of the role that you want to take on, would you say that you have been actively paying your dues? Have you ever faltered? Do you owe dues anyway?
No, I have not owed dues. And it is very interesting that the news is going around that I was nearly disqualified because I owed dues. No, never at all, MFR. I am an individual person that if that calls the treasurer, pursue her, where is the Momo number for me to pay dues? And eventually I have to drive to the center to go and pay my dues. Just this year, I was there in March. And as at the time I went in March to pay my dues up to June, that time I've not even decided to contest. So I drive there, I paid my dues. I don't owe any dues at all. But the news going around, and I know that this is an election, and people would want to discredit their opponents. But if I had owned dues, I'm not sure I would have been published in the earlier list that members of good standing. But I'm a member of a good standing, so my name was on the list. Only for me to go to vetting, go through the vetting process, and for the news to be out there that they were going to disqualify me because I owed dues, which I couldn't really fathom. But in any case, there are other contestants that they have disqualified. They didn't even accept their nomination because they said they were not paying dues. Okay. So how come my nomination was accepted? I went through vetting, and only for the news I was passed, and only for the news to be going around that I owe. Well, MFR, as I speak to you now,
you do not
I owe no dues.
That's good to know. Because you've talked about dues, let's stay on that a little bit. It is quite a concern for members. What would you do with it? Currently, many are asking, should it be paid cumulatively? I mean, of course, because the union would need money to be running, like as an entity. Should dues be paid cumulatively, or you'd have otherwise another means which you think should be done?
Well, on the issues of dues, you you heard me just mention that I have to call the treasurer just to be looking for the number that I could pay my dues through. And I have to drive all the way to press center to go and pay dues of 50 cedis. The fuel that I spend is even more than the dues that I'm going to pay. So I am thinking that we need to look at the due payment system. Now we have platforms that could digitally allow us to pay our dues easily. I don't need to go there because one of the problems about dues payment is that majority of my colleagues are not able to pay because they don't have a clear pathway of pushing the money to the association. We need to work on that because if you don't make payment easier or easy for our members, then it's going to frustrate them if they have to do things like that. That is why when I drove there in March, I decided to pay even in advance because I was not sure when I'll pass through again and I had to just to go and pay dues. So simplifying the process, I think, is a way to go.
Okay, so for you, in terms of dues, it's not a matter of cumulatively or not. It's for them to simplify the process and make people, help people to be able to pay easily.
Exactly.
Beyond the dues, what exactly is wrong with the GJA that you think you want to fix? You have mentioned that you want to rescue it. At the end of the conversation, we'll know. I'd invite my colleague journalists to actually ask you a few questions. They are on the line. But you have mentioned rescue. What are you rescuing it from? It's under a current leadership. You have mentioned that he has done some. But what are you rescuing the GJA from?
There is a technical capacity gap at the Secretariat. There is a financial management processes gap at the Secretariat. There is apathy among members. These are things that I think we need to work on.
Okay, so beyond that, everything else is okay. But you have advised...
No, beyond that, MFA, beyond that, we need to have a welfare policy.
Okay, that's, I recall you mentioned. Yeah, you've mentioned that. But yes, you have mentioned that you have advised the GJA for some time now. Why aren't you staying being a technical advisor than wanting to be a president?
Well, where we have gotten to now, there are so many issues that I think my technical expertise, clothed in the capacity as a leader of the association, that is where we can get things done. If you are advising and the advice is not being taken, and we see the gaps that I am talking about widening and widening by the day, there is a need for me to step in and see whether and plead for members to give me the chance so that we can do things differently. That will in turn benefit all members of the association.
Right, Charles, stay with me because joining me now via Zoom are my colleagues from the Volta region, McLean Kwame Noje and Anas Sabit, as well from the Bono East, Frederick Entry as well, both from the Bono East, joining me to ask you a few questions, which I'll also be joined by my colleague from Eastern region, Neil Ni Kanaku as well. So thank you, gentlemen. You all have the opportunity to ask Charles one question. Let me go to the Volta region. Yes, I'm biased. McLean, go on with your question.
Yeah. All right. Quite an impressive profile from of our leader or our aspiring president, Mr. Charles Mawusi. I know some work has been done regarding the safety and security of members. What would he be doing differently this time to improve on that?
Okay, MFA, should I answer?
Please. Well, let's take, if you can just take the questions, you can note them down. I'll take note as well. Security of journalists. I'd go to Anas Sabit. Anas, if you can ask him your question.
Thank you so much, MFA. And once again, let me thank Mawusi for, letting us know what he is up to so far as the leadership of our association is concerned. My question is on the welfare of journalists across the country. We know most of our colleagues across board are not well paid. And we have issues in some areas with regards to even journalists not, registered with SNIT and what have you. What journalists receive in the country is so nothing to write home about, and it is one of the reasons why you find journalists struggling, and the most experienced ones most of the times, bow out when they get a better, paying job, and that is actually affecting journalism in Ghana as a whole. So when you get in, what measures are you going to put in place to ensure that journalists are well taken care of by their employers, and to change the status quo, the narration in as to how we are currently treated across board?
Right, and thank you. We'll still stay in the Bono East and invite Frederick Antwi to ask his question.
Thank you, Emefa. Please, my question is, I want to know what Mr. Mawusi is going to do to our retirees, old journalists that has retired and are suffering from various diseases and other incapacitation. What is he going to do to help them out from such a situation?
Very good question, Frederick. Charles, you may want to attempt to answer these questions.
Thank you, Emefa. First of all, let me start with the first question first. Safety and security. At the moment, we have a team of lawyers, including Emefa, your own Samson, who has been fighting on issues of attack, legal issues for the association on free basis. They are not paid. We need to commend them. But beyond this team of lawyers, I think we need to review the work that Samson and Co have been doing, what is working well for the association as far as their work is concerned, where are the gaps, what do we need to do? On top of my head, before even the review, I foresee that there's a need for us to expand that and turn it into a committee that has to be working regularly with a desk officer. And this desk officer would follow up on each case day by day and report to us, whereby we have to follow up with action. Because what is currently happening is that the issues on the attack, when it happens, we report it, we talk about it 3 days, 4 days, then we leave it there. When the World Press Freedom Day is getting closer, we have a press conference to talk about it. If we are told that the docket is at Attorney General's office, we leave it there. We come back, we report it, we leave it there. No, we need a proactive and consistent system, a mechanism that will follow up on each of these cases, because if we don't follow up to pursue the prosecution to its logical conclusion, other people will be motivated to continue the attack on us. Secondly, the people who are perpetrating these attacks on us fall largely within two categories of stakeholders. We have the security agencies attacking us. Then we also have political party activists attacking us, these two groups of people. Once we have identified them, we need to engage them by explaining to them the essence of our profession. Because if we are conducting an investigation into, for example, a road fund, and a party activist is not happy that we are doing a story around road fund, they are likely to be incited by their masters to attack us.
Okay.
But if we engage and they understand the implication and the meaning of our work and its impact on their livelihoods, I'm sure they will think twice before doing that.
Charles, unfortunately, you have less than 2 minutes to answer the other two questions.
Thank you. Then on remuneration, we need to also engage media owners to understand that if you set up a media house, the media house is to make money for you. And if we help them to understand how the media political economy operates, your content is what drives traffic to your platform. If the content creators are demoralized and you are not paying them, you are siphoning money from your own business. This understanding has to be created through engagement with media owners to understand that a well-motivated, a well-paid journalist will be able to give a better content that will attract traffic to your station or to your platform. So one, that has to be done through engagement with media managers, media owners to understand our role within the ecosystem.
Okay.
Then secondly,
are we still on the
GJA,
security? Are you still on the security of journalists if you'd move to the welfare and retirees?
Yes, I'm done with the security of journalists.
Okay.
So I'm now on the remuneration.
Please make the two brief.
Okay. So the remuneration engagement with media owners to understand our role and how it affects traffic and its implication for adverts. That is a whole engagement we need to do. Then secondly, GJA has actually unionized, but that agenda is not completed. We need to go ahead and get the bargaining certificate, which will give us the legal backing to kind of like advocate and argue for better remuneration for our members, our retirees. However, for lack of time, we need to strengthen the regions to work. Those retirees that could work can man our regions and be active. We need to have projects that the retirees can play critical roles together with our practicing members. We need our welfare policy to spell out what we have to do for our retirees. So all these things will be in the welfare as to how we intend to take care of our retirees. So at this point, for lack of time, I would want to pause here. If you have any other questions, we pick it from the MFR.
All right, Charles, but for time, you would have 30 seconds to tell us some messages to convince people to choose you. And while you're at it, do you have a copy of the GJA Constitution?
Yes, I do.
But for sadly, it's hard to find, not even on the website. You want to take a look at that. Lucky you have it. But please give us your closing, shall I say, address?
Well, colleague journalists, this election should not be treated as business as usual. This election, I'm offering myself with turnaround strategies and plans that will help all of us as journalists. It is about our welfare. It is about our capacity building. It is about our protection through effective mechanisms. It is about enhancing the press center. It is about ideas
and
Charles. Opportunities that we can all work together to improve our livelihoods.
Thank you so much.
So kindly vote for Charles Mausi.
Thank you very much, Charles Mausi, for joining us, one of the GJA aspirants. We'll bring you a series of that. Thank you.